Share your experience with us in being different as a tax administrator amongst others.
Well, thank you very much. My years in the service was, well, challenging and eventful. As a medium level officer, I was at a point part of the collection officers, and while I was at that, there were issues of people making, sharp, quick practices, like you want to collect money from taxpayers and help them to pay while you gain yours from it. But I chose not to be part of that. I remember a case in 1985 that while we were there, one of my colleagues wanted to help a taxpayer to pay. Well, I didn't know that he had stolen a check, and he came to me after we have closed the counter for the day, wanted me to help him to issue the receipts. So, the whole scene went haywire, and eventually about 4 other officers were involved. All of them were dismissed, and I was spared because I knew nothing about it. And that was some of the first instance. Okay, there was another instance where my direct boss, who was in charge of the collection then, usually once a while we collect cash for pre-operation levy. This was years 1987 for collection levy, and 85, 86. And we had been collecting the cash. He had the key to the safe and the chief accountant, and he's been keeping the money. Suddenly, he had to go on leave. Before then, he had brought out the money. He normally goes to pay the cash himself to Central Bank. One of those days, he asked me to help him to pay it, so I went to the Central Bank. Young man, middle level officer, as I got to the bank and I was paying, of course he had counted, written the teller and given me the money. I presented it to the cashier at the Central Bank, but I was watching him. As he started counting, I had seen ahead that the money that was with him was much more than what was in the teller. So he was confused to my advantage and was saying, "What's going on?" I said, "Just bring it." So I collected the money and sorted it out, counted the real written amount, gave it to him. He stamped the check. I stamped the tellers, and of course, I had retained the remaining, which was about 4,000 naira in 1985, which was enough to buy a brand new car. So I collected the money and brought it back to the office. And all the guys started easing. "Oh, this guy, we thought you are smart, 4,000 naira and all that." That was the first instance. It happened like that another time. And this time it was short, and I came back and told him, like that. Of course, eventually he went on leave. One of those times he went on leave, I had access to the safe, and collecting the key from the chief accountant, using our own key also, I counted, and I saw that that money was short. We had about 45,000 naira short. So I called my colleagues, there's a problem. Auditors must not come to us. We'll be in trouble. So the first thing we did was to go and lodge all the money in bank, because we are not supposed to keep such money. And then we lodged it. And then we now sat down together. I said, well, I can't cover this. We have to tell the chief accountant and tell the authorities. We tried to send somebody to him. He said he was coming to the office so that we know what happened. Maybe he kept it somewhere that we don't know, and it was not in the safe and all that. He came and said he was going to sort it out. Well, and remembering now, that was before we lodged it. We had sent somebody to him. He came, and after he left, we discovered that the shortage has risen to 47,000. He took 2,000 naira away again. So that was what prompted us to go and lodge the money in bank. And then we reported to the chief accountant and to the authorities. And then eventually he was asked to come. Of course, the man is smart. He saw that all the papers, all our previous ledgers has been withdrawn, and we are using new one. He sat down for a while and then said he was going to the toilet. He's still in the toilet till today.
Briefly express your pain and gain experiences for choosing to be different.
Let me talk about one that was even interesting. I was in the office that day, very broke. And in fact, I trekked to the office that day. And I was in the office. I just felt like going to the toilet. As I opened my door, I saw somebody pacing in front of me. I said, yes, what can I do for you? And then he started saying he wanted to see me. I said, so why did you come in? And he said, when I saw that he was coming, I said, okay, come in. Let's discuss what you wanted. So he came in. And when he sat down, he was asking for a favor. And was asking me if I would give him a certified true copy of a credit note. The original he couldn't find, so he could not use it as deposit in the office. He wanted to use it, of course, and he wanted me to give him a clearance. Give him a certified true copy of the credit notes. So when I saw that, I said, okay, let me check. And then he started saying that they were going to pay me handsomely for doing that. I will not mention the amount, because that amount then was a lot of money. When he mentioned the money, I became alarmed. Of course, don't forget that I said I trekked to the office that day, because I believe in just doing my job and collect my salary and go away. And when he offered me that money, because it was much, initially I couldn't reject it. I said, go and come back. Let me think about it. Of course, as a Christian, I had to go to pray. Why is he offering me this money? It's something I could have done for him without him offering me money. But so I started suspecting that there is something sinister about it. So by the time he came back the following day, number one, I had asked myself, if I collect this money, how will I will have sold Jesus Christ. That's number one. Number two, where will I tell my wife I got such a money from? Because she will certainly ask me, okay, where will I tell my pastor when I begin to do some things? What will I tell my friends, my spiritual friends who we were moving together, praying together? Where will I say I got this kind of money? So the following day, by the time he came back, I had become very bold. So I told him, I said, well, I was not going to do that for him, and that I will take him to my boss. If she gives the go-ahead for us to do it, fine. Then she can do it for him. For me, I won't. So, of course, I took him to my boss, and by the grace of God, I had the testimony with her. By the time I told her what he wanted, and she just asked me a simple question. So, did you do it for him? I said, no, I didn't do it for him. I couldn't do it for him. I felt he should come and talk to me. She just told him point blank that she wasn't going to do it. She'd go and find a way. Of course, I could have done it quietly, collect the money, and feel cool. It's a norm. But in my heart, I will have sold Jesus. Apart from that, I had friends that we were praying, studying, and doing things together, and they know my testimony. If I begin to spend, they'll be wondering, bros, where are you getting the money from? And of course, there were other occasions that were opportunities, even asking me, not necessarily because I did anything, just wanted me to falsify issues, remove the penalties, and they will reward me handsomely. I refused. I even took a company to court because of that. And eventually, they had to pay. I could have reduced the penalties, waived the interest, collect the money, put it in my pocket, and it would have been okay. But I didn't learn Christ like that.
I'd like you to just highlight one or two of those stories, or three, to encourage people who want to be different, that there are actually people who are different. Because people feel everybody is doing it. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. My years in the service was, challenging and eventful. As a medium level officer, I was at a point part of the collection officers, and while I was at that, there were issues of people making, because if you are really righteous, go and you are not doing other businesses, and you go by the salary, government salary, I suspect that you may not be able to build a house except money comes from another point. At least the time that we were there, before this improvement in salaries, I don't even know whether with the improvement in salary now, you can do anything tangible with it, paying children's school fees and all that. But God helped us. And that's my story.